Hi, I'm Tom Harris, and today we're diving into a topic that might hit a little close to home. Have you ever wondered why you keep people at arm's length, even when deep down you crave connection? Why you feel safer pulling away than letting someone truly see you? You're not alone. There's a reason behind that emotional wall you keep building, and no, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. In fact, it usually means something happened to you, something way back in your early years that taught you love might not be safe. That vulnerability is dangerous. Today, we're going to unpack how your childhood experiences might be at the root of your avoidant attachment style, and why understanding this could be the first step toward finally breaking free from the habit of pushing people away. So stick around. It's going to get real, but also a little bit funny, because hey, healing doesn't have to be boring. Avoidant attachment is one of those psychological terms that sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty easy to spot in real life, especially if it's you. Imagine being in a relationship, and the closer someone tries to get to you, the more you feel like running in the opposite direction. You might still like them, you might even love them, but something inside you says, nope, too close, too much, too fast. That's avoidant attachment. People with this style often come across as independent, self-sufficient, maybe even a little emotionally distant. They don't like depending on others, and they definitely don't want others depending too much on them. If you've ever said, I don't do feelings, while casually ghosting someone you actually cared about, yeah, this might be you. But here's the catch. It's not because you don't want love. It's because your brain learned, somewhere along the way, that closeness equals danger. Emotional intimacy, too risky. Vulnerability, not today, thank you. So you build walls. Not because you hate people, but because deep down, you're scared. And the worst part, half the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. Let's be honest. Pushing people away isn't something you sit down and decide to do. It's not like you wake up in the morning and say, I think I'll sabotage this perfectly good connection today. It just kind of ... happens. You feel overwhelmed, smothered, or maybe just weirdly irritated when someone gets too emotionally close, and boom, you shut down, pull back, or disappear altogether. You might joke about it, like, oh, I don't do emotions. I'm dead inside. Haha, funny. But underneath that sarcasm is something much deeper. You push people away because part of you believes that if you let them get too close, they'll either hurt you, judge you, or worse, leave you. So, in a strange twist of logic, you beat them to it. You leave first, emotionally or physically. And it's not just romantic relationships. You might notice this pattern with friends, coworkers, even family. Someone tries to comfort you, and suddenly you feel annoyed. Someone expresses love, and you question their motives. Someone wants to spend more time with you, and you need space. It's not that you don't care. In fact, you care a lot. Maybe too much. That's why it's so scary. So instead of leaning in, you back off. Instead of opening up, you shut down. Because somewhere inside, you've learned that it's safer to be alone than to risk being hurt, and that's where childhood comes into the picture. If you really want to understand why you keep people at a distance, you have to go back to when you were little. Yeah, I know, nobody wants to take that trip, but trust me, your childhood holds the blueprint for how you handle relationships today. See, avoidant attachment often starts in homes where emotions were ignored, dismissed, or even punished. Maybe your parents weren't bad people, but they didn't know how to deal with feelings. Maybe they were always busy, emotionally unavailable, or only showed affection when you behaved. So what did you learn? You learned to rely on yourself. You learned not to cry, not to need, not to expect anyone to come comfort you. Over time, that became your survival strategy. You grew up equating love with conditions. You got love only when you were good, quiet, strong, or useful. You learned that being emotionally open didn't get you connection, it got you disappointment. So as an adult, you unconsciously carry that belief. If I need someone, they'll let me down. If I get too close, I'll get hurt. And so you armor up. You become independent, self-contained, emotionally sealed. Not because you're cold, but because once upon a time, being vulnerable didn't feel safe. And now, every time someone tries to love you, it stirs up that old fear. The child in you panics, thinking, don't fall for this. Remember what happened last time. All right, let's do a little self-check. Because knowing you have avoidant tendencies isn't always obvious until you start noticing the patterns. For example, do you ever feel drained after spending too much time with someone, even someone you like? That might be emotional closeness triggering your defense system. Or maybe you're great at texting until the conversation turns emotional. Suddenly, you're busy or taking hours to reply. Yeah, that's not just your schedule. That's your avoidance kicking in. You might struggle to say, "I miss you," or feel weird when someone says it to you. Compliments make you uncomfortable. Emotional conversations feel like a trap. And let's not forget the infamous line, "I'm just not ready for a relationship right now." Even though you were basically acting like a couple last week. Oh, and boundaries. You've got those in bulkier and clad, reinforced, emotionally bulletproof. You think being open makes you weak. You've convinced yourself that needing no one is strength. But deep down, there's that tiny voice whispering, "Why does this always happen? Why can't I let anyone in?" If any of that sounds familiar, chances are your inner child learned to survive by shutting doors before anyone had a chance to walk through them. Okay, let's pause for a second, because youthis is getting heavy, right? If you're sitting, they're like, "Wow, Tom, I came for a psychology video, not emotional demolition. Don't worry, I got you. Let's lighten the mood." Ever been in therapy and your therapist asks, "How does that make you feel?" And you're just like, "Hungry? Can we talk about snacks instead?" Classic avoidant move. Feelings? Nah, let's order pizza. But hey, it's okay to laugh at ourselves a little. Healing doesn't have to be all tears and trauma. Sometimes you've got to cry and cringe at the same time. Now let's talk about the part you probably don't show anyone. The emotional toll this avoidance takes on you. Because yeah, keeping people at a distance might feel safe, but it also gets lonely. Like, really lonely. You might tell yourself, you're fine, you don't need anyone, you're strong, independent. But then there are those quiet nights when the silence is just a little too loud. When you scroll through your phone, hoping someone will text but also dreading that they actually do, you avoid closeness, but deep down, you crave connection. You want someone to see you, to understand you, boot. When they try, you feel exposed. So you retreat, and the cycle repeats. And let's be real, relationships suffer. You might find people getting frustrated with you, saying things like, "You never open up," or "I feel like you're always holding back," and you don't know what to say, because you're not trying to hurt them. You just don't know how to be any other way. It's exhausting, carrying the weight of protection while starving for affection. Being guarded all the time isn't Pisces. Survival mode? And eventually that survival mode starts to feel like a cage. Yes, you can absolutely change. The walls you built weren't your fault. They were protection. But now, they're keeping out the very thing you've always wanted. Real connection. And the good news is, just like you learn to protect yourself, you can also learn to open up, bit by bit. Change doesn't mean turning into someone you're not. It means becoming more of who you were before the fear. It means noticing the urge to pull away and choosing, just once, to stay. It means practicing trust, even if it feels awkward. And yeah, it might involve therapy, or journaling, or uncomfortable conversations. But it's worth it, because underneath all that armor is someone who loves deeply, feels intensely, and wants to be known. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be real. And hey, if nothing else, maybe let someone hug you without making a joke about it. Baby steps.